Now that I have my 2 pinch pots completed, now I'm going to show you how to do a creature with 1. So I'm going to set this aside. I have a bag of extra clay here. When you're done and you're ready to start adding extras, I'm going to come around and I'm going to give each table kind of a chunk of clay to work with. Please, this chunk of clay should stay in the middle of your table. You don't want to grab it and suddenly pull it apart. If you keep pulling the clay apart and you leave it out in little pieces, which one do you think is going to dry out the fastest? The little pieces or the big chunk?
The big chunk.
Which one's going to dry the fastest? The little pieces are going to dry faster. So if you kind of keep your clay kind of in a chunk, the clay will stay nice and wet longer. One thing you need to know, your body temperature is about 98.6, 7, something in there. Your body is warm, so every time you touch and you play with the clay, you're pulling moisture. So like if I do this, do you see how my hand is wet?
Yeah.
Right? Do you see that? This is my hand taking moisture from the clay. So the more you play with it, the faster it's going to dry out. So you have to kind of have an idea in your head of what it is you want to do. So I'm just going to show you a couple little things that you can do. So I can decide that this is going to be the head of my creature, right? And it could also be the body. So watch what I could do. I could make my creature turn to the side, and this could suddenly become the mouth, right? This could be the mouth. I can take 2 clumps of clay about the same size. I can roll them into a ball. Now if I wanted to, if I wanted to have some exaggeration, I could make one eye bigger than the other. These are going to be my eyes, so I have one eye bigger than the other. See that? Do you see how I'm kind of getting the eyes in the mouth? Okay. So watch what's going to happen. You're going to have a paper clip. Your paper clip is for scoring your clay. So listen carefully. Do you remember when we've been working with clay in the past, I said be careful with how you put the clay together so it doesn't fall apart or it doesn't blow up in the kiln? Okay? This is called scoring. When you put 2 pieces of clay, so pretend my hand are 2 pieces of clay. If I put 2 wet pieces of clay together, because they're wet, they're going to hold right now, but once it dries, there's nothing there to keep it together, so it's going to fall apart. Does that make sense? By scoring, it's like making little fingers on one side, but again, if I put the 2 together, is there anything for it to grab onto the other side?
No.
No. So I have to put my little fingers on both sides, wherever the side of the clay that I'm going to attach and where it's going to attach. I'm going to create little fingers. I'm then going to use a little bit of water. That's going to act as the glue so that when I put them together, it's going to hold and it will stay and will not fall apart. Does that make sense? Now, there's a right way to score and a wrong way to score. I want to show you the right way. So the right way, well, I'm going to show you the wrong way first. So this here is not enough. Okay, I like to say like a really complex tic-tac-toe board or like a bird's nest, which you know is super complex, right? It's got lots of little twigs and sticks. So I'm going to go in one direction, and then I'm going to go in another direction, and then I might go in a third direction. So do you see how you got all those little fingers popping up? Do you see that? How it's kind of rough? Now, here's another question. Did I dig deeply into the clay?
No.
No. So it's just surface. Now, wherever I want this eye to go, wherever I want that eye to go, I now need to look at the clay, look at where it is, and I need to do the same thing for where the eye is going to go. I'm going to make kind of like that bird's nest. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water, literally just a drop or 2. Do you see how it kind of is a little bit wet? Then I'm going to take this, I'm going to put the 2 together. That's going to act as the glue. Those fingers are going to grab onto each other and they're going to hold. I'm going to do the same thing for the other eye. If I don't do that when I attach, then eventually when I go to fire it, this is going to fall off and you're going to lose an eye or you're going to lose an arm or whatever it is that you've attached. So you have to make sure that you score with a little paper towel and you add a little bit of the glue and you're scoring both sides where they connect. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. I need to make sure I have lots of little fingers for it to grab onto. I don't need a lot of clay, a lot of water, just a drop or two. So now I have, here's my mouth, here are my eyes. Now I can do one or two things. I could either take my pencil and I can poke in to create an eye, or if I want to, I could take another piece of clay, make a ball, flatten it. That might be too big, so I might have to make this smaller. The more detail you add, the more interesting and the better it's going to look. The more detail you add, the more interesting it's going to be. So if I wanted to, I could create this part. And again, I'm just playing around here. Add a little bit of water. Flatten, attach, and then add my eye. So do you see different things you could do? Yeah. If you wanted to do eyelashes, if you want, actually, you know what? If you wanted to do eyelashes, we're going to save that till the end. I will show you. Remind me to show you eyelashes and those fun details at the end, so I don't forget. If you wanted a nose, so let's say your creature. Watch this. I'm going to push this down. So I'm going to kind of make like a beak. I'm going to pinch. So do you see how I have like a little cone? Okay. So I could score this right here. I could score this right in here. Add a little bit of water. Press down. Now, notice, do you see how the clay, you can see the nose and the pinch pot right here? You can see the difference between the two? I can take my pencil and I can try and blend that so that it looks like my nose is actually coming from the pinch pot. So do you see how now I have my nose? And from a side view, and if I wanted it to look more like a beak, okay? And I have my mouth. Now, I can continue, watch me, I can continue, if I wanted to add legs, I can decide what I want to do for legs. I could add wings, I could add tails, I can add all that stuff. Watch what I'm going to do. If I want legs, I'm going to roll a really thick coil. Okay, think of this as like working with a little bit like Play-Doh. You want to keep it nice and thick. The skinnier, this is a good thing to also remember, the skinnier something gets, the higher the probability that it's going to break. The thicker your clay is and the closer to the body your clay is, the less likely it's going to break. So if I wanted to do legs and I wanted a leg that kind of looked like this, that is more like that. That's more apt to break. Do you see this? That's more apt to break because it's long and it goes away from the body. If I were to cut this in half, I had a thicker piece and I made this closer to the body like that, that's going to be less likely to break. Okay? I could, if I wanted to, and I'm just showing you a bunch of different things, I could decide, I could shape, maybe I have wings, tap this down, and maybe I have wings on either side of my piece. Boys, I can also do a tail. So if you have a tail, and let's see, if I had something like this, and I'm just going to turn this clay into a tail. So you're just going to basically take the clay and you're going to, this is called hand building. Do you boys want to come back during recess? I can make that happen. So I can make a tail right here, and if I wanted to add a tail to the end so that I have a tail to the back of my creature, I can. So that's if you're using one pinch pot, right? If you want a second pinch pot, to add a second, so here's another way. This could actually be the body. So then you could decide that this is the head, this is the body. Are you seeing what I'm doing? And then you could add legs and things to this. So this becomes the body underneath, this becomes the head. Follow me? Now again, if I'm attaching this to here, you need to score, add water, and connect. And then you can continue building. I could make my legs look like they're coming out from here. Okay? So there's a lot of things, yep, and you have to attach it. There's a lot of things you can do. So you're going to decide if you want to have, is this guy going to have is he going to have a snake tongue? Right? Okay. So there's a lot of different, class, listen, there's a lot of different things that you can do. Okay? So on Monday, one of the decisions you're going to have, the first decision you're going to have to make is, are you just going to do kind of like a head and have the body parts come off of here? Or do you want two and create the body and the head as two separate pinch pots put together? So that will be your first choice. Today you're going to design, and then Monday we're going to build, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the creatures you create.